Hi guys. So as you can see behind me, it's dark out. Well, I just put Bodhi to bed and I just found some time to come on and talk to you guys a little bit more about our pillar this week, which is caring. And so we've already talked a little bit, like we said before, about some empathy and what caring looks like and what it means to be a caring person. So while we do this little activity, I want you guys to think about what you could do that's a caring thing or a kind thing for another person. And what I have is just a couple of different scenarios for us to think about. A scenario is just kind of like an example, a real life example. And all of these things you probably have either been in that scenario before, or it's definitely something that could happen to one of us in the future. So they're all pretty common things and just ways that when we're in those situations, ways that we can be kind and caring to both ourselves and to other people. Okay. So as I go through, they're just kind of written down on a little piece of paper. I'm going to show them to you. But as I go through, I want you to think about both what you would do and if you were in kind of the shoes of the person that's the not so great person in these scenarios, what you could do to change that, or in some of these scenarios, how you would feel if someone was not kind or caring to you. Okay. So we've got about four here. There's a ton of them that I have. I have about 15, but I chose four that I thought could be ones that really are pretty common, or ones um, that might be something that's going to happen to us, like I said before. Okay. So we're going to start with this one. We're going to start with this. There are some different ones, but we're going to start with one for recess. So put yourself in on a playground at recess. This isn't even one that has to be at recess. It can be something that happens when you're playing with your friends in the summer or any other time like that. So the first one says, let's see if you can read it here in the dark. You go to recess and start playing a game. Someone comes along and wants to play, but one of the kids tells the person that he or she can't play. What would you do? So I want you to think about what you would do first, and then I'm going to give you a way that this could be solved, or a way that kindness and caring would come into this scenario. So take a second, think about what you would do first, and then I'm going to tell you what I would do. I wouldn't necessarily, and not to say that it's wrong if you did, but I wouldn't necessarily invite that person into that game and tell that other person, like, no, 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 they can play, because that might make it a little bit uncomfortable for the person who originally was asked not to play to begin with. So I might actually take that person and say, you know what? I'm not going to play either. Let's come over here and swing on the swing set, or let's play on the jungle gym, or let's do something like that. Because I want you to think about if that person now is playing, and maybe that same person that told them that they didn't want them to play, maybe obviously isn't so nice of a person at the moment. So maybe it might be a little awkward for them to be playing and knowing that the other person didn't want them to play. So I would might just take them completely out of the situation and have them playing somewhere else on the playground or playing with another group of friends. But I would definitely stop and think about how that person feels and take the time to go to that person and help that person. You might even think about going to the boy or girl that made the rude comment and asking them how they think it would feel if that was made to them, and maybe educating them a little bit on kindness and caring, and thinking about how they can change themselves to be a better, kind and caring person as well. So think about what you said. I'm sure all of your answers are correct, but that's just maybe what I would do. So here's the second one, if I can get it. Okay, here's the second one. Whoop, I'm backwards here. There's an elderly woman across the street from you who lives alone. Her family lives far away, and she is rarely outside. Is there something you could do to help her? Think about it. What could you do that's a kind and caring thing to help? So this doesn't even need to be an elderly woman. It just might be somebody who, especially with what we're going through right now, is a little bit more nervous to go outside in these scenarios, or maybe it is an older person and we know that we have to be very careful around them. Maybe it's somebody who is injured or handicapped and we want to be able to help them. So, what's something that you think you could do that would be a nice gesture? This person doesn't have family around and they're not, you don't often see them outside. I might do a couple of different things. I might draw them a picture. I might write them a letter. I might offer to read a book for them or offer to do something around the house for them that they might need help with. Um, you might not necessarily be able to do this on your own, but when a family member or adult goes to the grocery store, check on them, make sure they don't need anything. Make sure that if they're not as able to leave the house, that you're able to do something that might help them in the future or help them get something that they might not be able to get on their own. So anything that is giving them company or letting them know that somebody's caring about them and somebody's watching out for them, that's always helpful, especially to someone who doesn't have family members or other close friends around. If they're not outside much, then most likely they don't have many people that are coming to check on them. So be that person, be somebody who is willing to go and check on them and offer to help them. And don't expect anything in return because that is part of being a kind and caring person. You're doing it from the kindness of your heart. You're not asking for somebody to give you something else. If they offer, okay, that might be an added bonus, but it's not doing it because you expect something in return. Okay, here's the next one. This one is near and dear to my heart. You see your teacher walking towards the classroom with his or her arms loaded down with books and papers. What are some kind things you could do? Think about that one. What are some kind things that you could do for your teacher? Well, this happens to me all the time. Teachers are bag ladies and bag men. We always have our bags and our arms full of papers and books and things that we're bringing in for the classroom or things that we're taking out for the classroom or taking home. It's constant. We always have things in our hands. So it's always a kind gesture or a caring gesture to just offer to hold something for them. They might not take you up on it. Maybe it's something that they have to have that's personal to them and they don't want anything to happen to it, but the offer is better than nothing. And so I guarantee you 90% of the time, a teacher is going to be like, oh my goodness, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here. Please, could you hold this for me or could you carry this for me? It's going to be such a big help. Anytime, not even just a teacher, but anytime you see anybody with their hands full and you have nothing, maybe you should offer as a kind and caring gesture to make sure that everything is good with them and that, excuse me, that they're not trying to overload themselves as they are walking into the house. Groceries, that is something for me that we try to make one trip. And it's always much nicer when there's more than one person there because then my hands aren't blue because I'm trying to carry 10 bags on each arm on the way into the house. So just offer if your mom or your dad or aunt or grandmother or anybody who you live with, if they come in the house and you see their hands are full, say, hey, is there anything else in the car that I can go get for you? I love that. There's nothing better than not having to make 3 trips back to your car when you have a truckload or a trunk load full of groceries. All right, last one for today. This one was an interesting one. And it might not be one that you guys have had yet, depending upon your age, but it's something that I know as a third grade teacher has happened lots of times in my classroom. And it makes a very awkward situation. And I really want you to think about how the people in this would feel. Put yourself in their shoes. Remember, I said don't always think about what you would do, but sometimes think about also how it would make somebody else feel. So here we have this one right here. After doing a presentation, the kids in the class are supposed to give positive feedback to the student presenting. Positive feedback means you're supposed to say something nice about the presentation. After one classmate gives his or her presentation, everyone is quiet and no one is raising a hand to say anything. How could you show kindness? That's maybe a difficult one. Maybe you didn't really see anything that you liked in their presentation. We all know that there are people here and there. You'll have to forgive me, I have something in my eye. We all know that there are people here and there who maybe don't put as much effort into their work as they should or as they could. And there might not be a whole lot there that we could offer some kind words to them. So, what do you do? Should we just let them stand up there and not hear any positive comments or not hear anything nice? Or could we really look for even a small detail that might be something that would make them feel good about the work that they did produce? Because I've always noticed that as a teacher, odds are that even if they didn't produce a lot for their presentation, what they did produce took them a long time. And it took them some time that they did the research and they created something that they were proud of. And so we want to offer some kind of positive feedback. Maybe you just liked the colors in their presentation, or maybe you can recall one fact from their presentation that you found to be really interesting. Or maybe you can say that you really appreciate how hard they tried to find the facts for their presentation. It doesn't have to be like your presentation was perfect. It's just one thing that you can find that's something kind and caring to say to somebody else. It's not hard. Sometimes we have a hard time saying nice things to other people. I don't know why that's something that human beings have a hard time with, but sometimes it's very difficult to say nice things to other people, especially if that's not somebody that you particularly get along with or are friends with or are close with. And so it's such a nice gesture. Imagine that somebody that you don't really kind of talk to very often or you're not very close with saying something nice to you. Imagine how great that's going to make your heart feel. And maybe it's going to spark a friendship between the two of you, which is always great too, to have new friends and to have new friendships. So, those are the four scenarios that I presented with you today. Like I said, there are so many more, and there are scenarios in daily life that happen where we can make one choice to make it a positive, kind, and caring situation, or we can make another choice and make it a little bit more awkward or a little bit more mean or sad in the situation. So think about those things daily and think about what you can do to make yourself a more kind and caring person. All right, guys, you guys have a good night for me. Hopefully, it's daytime for you. You guys have a great day.